And now. Good morning, everybody. We're glad to see you here today. I am Sharia Burnett, as you know, and today I have a special guest with me, Dr. Arvat McClaine, who will be reading to us. So as we always do, I have to give a shout out to our sponsors. So I want to thank Alamance Achieves, Future Alamance, Allied Churches of Alamance County, Elena and Jane Books, Burnett's Chapel Christian Church, the Kia Foundation, WNCC Western District Social Action Commission, Genesis Child Development Center, and This Woman's Words. You know that we have to give you a literacy resource highlight at the beginning because we can't get to the fun of the book unless I talk to you about the importance of reading. And so this week we are talking about Vroom. That's V as in Victor, ROOM. And you can learn more about Vroom at www.vroom.org. Again, that's VROOM as in Mary.org. You can also talk to the great people over at Alamance Achieves about Vroom, and they can give you some different information about who it works well for. It's mainly for children under the age of 5. And so for those of you with toddlers or very young children, this is perfect for you. There are phone app features as well as flashcards. So again, www.vroom.org or contact Alamance Achieves for more information. If you are the parent of a child that attends school in Alamance Burlington School System and you would like to complete a survey about summer learning for Alamance Achieves, please comment below this video or send me a message on Facebook and we will get the link over to you so that they can receive that data. If you would like to talk to the people at Alamance Achieves and you would like me to connect you with the amazing Lexi Roberts, please reach out to me and let me know and I'll get you in touch with her with regards to questions about literacy or summer learning options. So, with that being said, today we have Dr. Arvat McClaine with us. She will be reading her book Through Her Own Eyes, Tavra's Journey to Self-Love. And this book is set to come out in just a few days. And we are the first audience that's going to get to hear this reading. So I'm very excited for us. And I hope that not only are you excited to hear about Tavra, but that you are also willing, able, and going to go purchase Dr. McClaine's wonderful book. So with that being said, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Arvat. Arvat McClaine is a world traveler and has spoken internationally about how to move from a life of struggle to one where your biggest dreams come true. Arvat co-founded the first independent African-centered school in the state of Virginia, pre-K through 8th grade, and has worked extensively with both children and adults in the fields of mental health and personal development. Arvat literally married the boy next door. She and her husband, Harry Watkins, have been best friends for about 40 years. They are both avid entrepreneurs and adventurers, have traveled to all 7 continents, jumped out of an airplane, and climbed Mount Kilimanjaro together. Additionally, Arvat has walked barefoot across a hotbed of coals, ooh girl, and is an endurance athlete. Her greatest passion is igniting the magic that we all have within to live our best lives. And with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. McClaine.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here and I'm so happy to have you guys as my first audience for this book that is set to launch on March the 24th. And the name of my book is Through Her Own Eyes, Tavra's Journey to Self-Love. And as a little bit of a backdrop, we tend to think that children are footloose and fancy-free, carefree, and to the degree that they are, that is fabulous. But sometimes I think we forget that children do have real emotions and real feelings. And sometimes those feelings are difficult feelings. And they may not have the tools or the words, and they don't know how to deal with those feelings. And it's during this time, their formative years, when their self-esteem is developing. And just little things that can happen in our everyday life can affect a child's self-esteem just because they are getting their messages from what's going on outside of them, maybe not interpret them in the proper light and causing themselves to feel bad in the process. And it could be things like divorce, for example. A lot of times children will feel like divorce is a reflection on them. Maybe if their parents are substance abusers or have a substance abuse issue, or maybe even have low self-esteem themselves, those types of messages can funnel on down to the child. And then even if you think about the past year that we've had, 2020, you know, with the pandemic, with the race relations going to a boiling point, with the elections. We all know as adults, our emotions were kind of like on a roller coaster. So you can only imagine how that may have affected the children as well. And so this book really kind of taps into the whole process or ideal that children do have difficult emotions, and helping them to process through them, and helping them to get in a space where they love themselves. And so in this book, Tavra, we get a little glimpse into Tavra's world, because she's feeling sad in the beginning of the book, and she's feeling unloved in the beginning of the book. But she begins to understand that she's connected to a source that loves her, made her perfectly and purposefully, and she learns to love herself just as she is. So I'm going to dive right on in. So one thing about the book, because it does talk a little bit about, and because it starts off a little sadder than a normal child's book would start off, I actually have included a letter to the parents or to teachers or whatever guardians or adults are reading the book. And it just kind of explains some of the things that I just said. And also it notes that at the back of the book, which we'll get to at the end of the book, at the end of the story, is there's a journal, like just a little area where the children can process for themselves. And then there's also a guided section where the adults can process the book with the children. So hopefully you kiddies are watching and are ready to get started on this story. Now this story again is about Tavra, and this is Tavra sitting here on the steps, and hopefully you can see how sad she's looking. So the book starts off. All the kids were playing outside except Tavra. Nobody loves me. Nobody loves me, Tavra cried over and over again. One at a time, the other children wandered over to Tavra and said, I love you, Tavra. But Tavra was too upset to even hear them. Tavra thought about all of the reasons why she believed no one loved her. One reason was that her three brothers thought that saying mean things to her was funny. Get away from us, you buck-toothed beaver, her brother Niall said, and they all laughed until their stomachs hurt. The other girls in the neighborhood were slightly older and so much cooler than Tavra. They knew all the new dances and cheers like, we are the mighty, mighty dragons. But Tavra was just a plain Jane. She didn't know any dances or anything about cheers. So the other girls didn't want her around. And then when the kids played baseball, neither side wanted Tavra on their team because she always missed the ball when it was her turn to bat. So Tavra spent her time all alone at home with no one to talk to or play with. She always watched the clock because she knew what time her mom was going to walk through the door. Mama, she cried out, happy to finally see her mom. Guess what? She started to excitedly tell her mom about all the things that were zooming through her mind over the past day. Tavra, will you let me get in the house before you start telling me so many stories? You need to learn how to be by yourself. Go to your room, her mom said. Tavra replayed these scenes over and over in her mind. Hours of crying lasted through the night, and nights turned to days. Her crying just wouldn't stop. Nobody loves me. Nobody loves me, she cried. Honey, please stop saying that. We love you. I don't want to hear you say that ever again, her mom said one day. Tavra respected her mom's wishes. Rather than saying, nobody loves me, Tavra continued her daily crying, but began saying, nobody likes me instead. And by now, everyone was so sick of hearing her cry, and everyone ignored her. One day, a new girl came into the neighborhood with so many beautiful bracelets on her arm. When she saw Tavra crying, she said, "What's wrong, little girl?" Jada, a neighborhood girl who was clearly tired of hearing all the crying, said, "She thinks nobody likes her." The new girl said, "Well, I like you, little girl. Here, have a bracelet." With that, Tavra quieted herself and wiped her eyes for the first time in a long time. She heard Jada exclaim, "Shoot, don't nobody like me either. Can I have a free bracelet too?" Later that night, when Tavra closed her eyes for bed, a beautiful princess appeared. The princess looked just like Tavra, but was a little older and glowed with a radiant light. "Hello, Tavra." "Hello there. Who are you?" "I am Princess Vati. I have been trying to reach you, but you couldn't hear me because you've been crying so much." "You've been trying to reach me?" Tavra asked. "Yes," said Princess Vati. "Why?" Tavra asked. "Because I wanted to tell you that you are loved beyond measure. Look at your third toe on your left foot." "How do you think that got there?" Princess Vati asked. "Huh? I don't know," Tavra said. "Look at that teeny tiny mole on the bottom of your left hand. How do you think that got there?" Princess Vati asked. "I don't know," Tavra said. "Because God put it there. Our all-powerful, all-loving God who creates all things thought it would be simply delightful to create you. You have been made perfectly in every way, from your special smile to your third toe to the way that you dance when you think no one is looking. You are deeply loved, and there is nothing that you can ever do to change that." Princess Vati glowed even more as she spoke. "So God loves me always?" Tavra asked. "Always," said Princess Vati. "Does God love everyone?" Tavra asked. "Each and every one of us," Princess Vati replied as she waved her wand, and like magic, they started flying towards the moon. "Well, I might believe that God loves me," Tavra said, excited to be sitting on the moon. "But no one else does," she said as she began to mope again. "But don't you see that's not true? What did your mother tell you?" Princess Vati asked. "She told me that they love me and that she doesn't want to hear me say that no one loves me anymore. But if she loves me, why doesn't she want to know how I really feel? Why does she want me to keep my feelings to myself?" Tavra really wanted to know. "She wants you to stop saying it because she knows that the more you say it, the more you're going to believe it," Princess Vati replied. "But even when I'm not saying it, I'm still thinking it, and I'm still believing it, Tavra explained. Yes, this is true. And this is where you have to come in and save yourself, Princess Vati said. Save myself? Tara asked. Yes, save yourself. It was never that the other people around you don't love you. It's that you are not feeling love towards yourself. When you're not feeling love towards yourself, it makes it very hard for you to feel the love that is coming from other people, Princess Vati explained. So I have to love myself? Tara asked. Yes, you must love yourself, Tara, Princess Vati confirmed. But how do I do that? Tara asked. It's very simple, Tara. You already know that you are created perfectly and purposefully. Now, all you have to do is decide, Princess Vati answered. Decide? Tara said. Yes, decide. When you decide, you cut off all other choices. So you have to decide that you love yourself, said Princess Vati. If you love yourself, what would you say to yourself? Princess Vati asked. Well, I would tell me that I love me, Tara said in a soft voice. Good. Can you tell yourself that now? Princess Vati handed Tara a mirror. Tara looked into the mirror and said, I love you. What else would you say to yourself? Asked Princess Vati. That God made me perfectly, just the way I am? Tara said, sounding a little unsure of herself. Yes, tell yourself that now, Princess Vati said. God made you perfectly just the way you are, Tara said. What else would you say? Princess Vati asked. I am beautiful and funny, and I love to play with bunnies. I am smart and classy and still a bit sassy. But even if none of this were true, Tavra, I love you for just being you. Elated, Princess Vati said, bravo, bravo, Tavra. See, you just decide and make the same decision every day to love yourself, Tavra, for just being you. Yes, I understand now. Love myself for just being me. I love you, Tavra. I love me. I will remember to decide again every day that I love me. Tara beamed with joy. You got it, Princess Vati said as she started to fade away. Wait, where are you going? Tara asked as she realized she was back in her room. Never far away, Tara, Princess Vati assured her. But will I ever see you again? Tara asked. I am always here for you. I am always whispering in your ear. But remember, you can only hear me when you're quiet. The next morning, Tara awakened with a smile on her face. She had not felt like this in a long time. She jumped out of the bed with a song in her heart. Her family's ears perked up as they heard Tara singing a joyful song. Do you hear that? Niles exclaimed. Everyone ran to give Tara a big hug. They were happy to have her back. Tara thought about her visitor the night before. She was right. All I have to do is love myself. Then I will feel the love from everyone else around me, too. Tara winked at herself as she gazed in her own eyes in the mirror. And that's the end. But there is a journal section in the back for the children, and it gives them opportunity to color and write and use their imaginations. And it's like at the beginning of the story, Tara thinks no one loves her. Draw a face or write how you think she was feeling. And then, have you ever felt left out? And how did that feel? The new girl asked Tara what was wrong and gave her a bracelet. What type of action was this? And so then the kids can circle. Do you guys think it was a kind action, a caring action, selfish, giving, or mean? You can select as many of those answers as you think. Kind, caring, selfish, giving, or mean. And then they have the opportunity to draw and color a bracelet here. And then the question is, what is something kind that you've done for someone? And how did it make them feel? And how did it make you feel? So kids, if you can think of something kind that you've done someone, how did they feel and how did you feel? Princess Vati told Tara that she had to love herself every day. When you look in the mirror, what loving words can you say to yourself? And so you can write some loving words down that you would say to yourself. And write the reasons why you love you, and then color in the mirror. And that's the end of the journal for the children. And then there's actually a guided section for the adults to process with the children. And I'll just read a couple of those. And so it starts off, how was Tara feeling at the start of the story? And then it gives particular words to help them to think of how Tara was feeling. Was she happy, excited, sad, mad? And how do you know how she was feeling? Because she was crying. Show me a sad face. And so they can either draw a sad face or they can make a sad face. Then it says, did some of the other children try to help Tara feel better? And what did they do to try to help her? And have you ever tried to help someone feel better? And what did you do? And then why did Tara think no one loved her? And that was because her brother said mean things to her. She felt like the other girls didn't want her around. Other people didn't want her on their baseball team. And so it asked the question, did you know that even when you're just trying to be funny, that saying mean things to a person can hurt their feelings? And then what are some kind things that you can say to a person? Let's see. Here's a good question. Why do you think Princess Vati looked just like Tara, except she was older and had a glow? And so the answer to that is because Princess Vati is Tara. She's a part of Tara that Tara doesn't know yet. We all are more than what we see when we look in the mirror. When you look in the mirror, there are many things that you can't see. You can't see your thoughts. You can't see how strong you are. You can't see how loving and kind you are. You can't see how funny you are. You can't see how smart you are. But as you get older, you will start to become more and more aware of parts of yourself that have always been here, like your confidence, your strength, your courage, your ability to love everyone, your wisdom, your power, your light, and your inner glow. And so there are just a few more questions that the adults can help process with the kids about. And that is my story, guys. Hope you enjoyed it.
That was phenomenal. I love it. I love it. We got people clapping. I don't know if you can see them, but we got people clapping. I think that spoke to the adults in the room just as much as to the children. So I think you did a phenomenal job. I really like that parents guide and the journal. That's really creative, and I think can prove to be very helpful because it talks about both sides. Like if you're being mean or if you're experiencing meanness. And, you know, we're not all experiencing one side or the other. We experience it all. So I think that that can be very helpful. So does anybody on Zoom have any questions for Dr. McClaine?
I do. What inspired you to write this book?
So that's actually a good question, because I had never considered writing a children's book. I didn't sit down to write a children's book. It just flowed out of me. And I didn't have to think about it. The words just flowed all in one sitting. But the truth of the thing is that this really is a story out of my own life. Except the lessons that Tarver learned in terms of how to love herself, I didn't learn those lessons until I was an adult. But just in the terms of feeling sad about the things in your life and feeling like you're not loved and you feel like you don't like yourself and that type of thing. And I remember being a young child, and people would always say, in order to, you know, really be successful in life, to do anything great in life, you have to learn to love yourself. And I would be like, okay, but how do you do that? And so I always was like, why doesn't anyone tell you how to love yourself? And so I finally learned how to love myself when I was an adult. And so that's a lesson that I felt like if children can learn that at a young age, it'll just totally change the playing field for them.
I also heard from the Facebook streets that you also have some adult courses. Would you mind sharing those with the collective?
Oh, sure, certainly. So I have a course. It's a 6-week course called Do, Be, Have More. And it teaches you how to tap into your higher powers, the recognizing that you're connected to the source of all that exists, and how to become aware of that source and tap into it, rely on it, and not rely on our limitedness of the human body, but to recognize that there's so much more to us out there, and that we can start tapping into those things. And my other course is actually a 27-day course, and it's called How You Think You Are. And so it's really just helping you to recognize that how powerful our thoughts are, and how just the process of changing our thoughts can totally change our lives. And so both courses can be found on my website at arvatmcclaine.com.
Are there any other questions for Dr. McClaine? Okay, so you just mentioned your website. Where can people find you on social media?
And actually that's the same. It's Arvat McClaine across the board, ARVATMCCLAINE. Arvat McClaine on Facebook, on Instagram, and my website.
Wonderful. So I want to thank you so much for reading. You did a great job. I wouldn't have known it was your first time if you hadn't. Phenomenal. We've got comments all on Facebook. We got comments in the Zoom chat. So check those out when you get the chance. People are telling you that the little girl in them is crying, that you did a phenomenal job. We had some kids listening via Zoom, and they were enjoying the story as well. So I think that this touched both the adults and the youth in the room, and that's always a sign of a great book. So again, your book is out on March 24th, right?
Yes, March 24th.
And where can readers buy your book?
It'll be available on Amazon, and I'm sure it's across all fields, but we can just get it from Amazon for now.
Okay, wonderful. And so I have tagged Dr. McClaine in the Facebook video so that if you all have questions for her, you can comment below and she can come back and respond to them. Adults, make sure to check out those courses that she mentioned. I'll be on my way to your website when this is over. And also make sure to order her book, and feel free, to order multiple copies so that you can give them to multiple people, because we all need that lesson that Tavra received in the book, okay? So with that being said, thank you again to all of our listeners. Come back next week, same time, 11:30 a.m. on Saturday, we will have author Oye Akinton, who will be reading his book, Zizi the Copycat, that he wrote with his wife, Sabrina. So again, that's next Saturday at 11:30 a.m. It'll be on Zoom and on Facebook. The flyer will go up shortly. Thank you again, Dr. McClaine. Y'all have a great Saturday.
All right, you too. Bye, everyone.